something is happening. Is it normal? Or is it something very dangerous? NASA is tracking a vast anomaly growing in Earth's magnetic field. My friends, about a week ago, you all noticed something strange. The sky turned pink and green. You saw the aurora as far south as central Texas and even parts of Florida, closer to the north. Now, I say closer to the north to try and make it seem a bit reasonable, but Florida saw the aurora. How is this possible? And for 2 days. I had a conversation with the Sun weatherman, Ben Davidson, and he told me that of these rare aurora phenomenon, there have been, I believe he said around 10 in the past 100 years, 5 of which occurred in the last 2. So what is happening? And are they keeping something from us? Now, I'm not one to play into any kind of crazy conspiracy games. You know me, I typically don't do that. But what I can tell you is there are certain signs, patterns that may be occurring. And maybe you know about some of this, so comment below. And together we can maybe piece some of these things together. Or maybe debunk them entirely. I know that the official statement on what we've been seeing with these anomalies, and this is from sciencealert.com right now. This is not some fly-by-night random website. The official statement is going to be that sometimes these solar storms happen. But I'll also point out, do they happen around the time we track vast growing anomalies? Do they happen around the same time that billionaires begin building secret underground bunkers in New Zealand, Hawaii, in Montana, Wyoming, in the mountains? Is that normal too? Perhaps we can explain it all away. Maybe these rich people just have so much money. Why not have an emergency apocalypse bunker? If you can. Some rich people buy things that are completely useless. But there have been questions now for some time. For the past 10 years or so, questions around why powerful people are building underground bunkers. And it is simple to just say maybe it's because they're rich and they can. But it's not really a satisfactory answer for most people because, well, out of sight, out of mind. Certainly, even if you're rich, something made you think you might need this. Perhaps it's World War III. Perhaps it's just general economic instability. But there is something culturally that made people think, maybe I need this. Now, the theories that we have seen since these storms, it's that they're getting worse, that there will be a pole shift, a superstorm. As the anomaly grows in Earth's magnetic field, it becomes weaker. And that means solar activity that is typical will begin to penetrate to the Earth's surface. This will disrupt cell networks, satellite communication, and potentially even our power grid. Did you notice this morning? Almost the entire internet went down for some reason. Now, I think that's more likely to have been a cyber attack. Unusual traffic, they called it. But I wonder this, and I really do wonder what you guys think, and I ask you to comment below. If our government was aware that our magnetic field was weakening and we were becoming, as a planet, susceptible to solar activity that could damage the Earth, and I'm not even talking about storms or coronal mass ejections. I'm talking about typical solar activity, which is usually blocked by our magnetic field. What if it penetrates to the surface? If the government knew about this and there was a real threat to our grid, to our economy, would they tell you? I mean, maybe. The simple answer is they'd just say, please get prepared. Although there is also the theory that they'd start building emergency bunkers. Perhaps they'd begin renovations on Mount Weather. Interesting name. And they have. Maybe Raven Rock. And maybe other deep underground military bases we are not currently aware of. But what do I know? What I know is this. I read the news, I ask some questions, and I think typically the simple solution will be likely to be correct. But then what happens when you have Science Alert telling you there's an anomaly in the magnetic field? What happens when we see an aurora in Texas? 5 times in 2 years. I remember these stories. People keep posting on X like, hey, in West Virginia, you can see the aurora tonight. And I'm thinking to myself, how? I saw the aurora once, 2 years ago in Alaska with my wife. It was beautiful. It was faint. It was there for a minute or so and then vanished. We didn't get a picture of it. She's mad at me about it. It's okay. It was minus 30 degrees. What am I supposed to do? Come on. We got to get in the car. But here we are. A vast growing anomaly. Science Alert says, for years, NASA has monitored a strange anomaly in Earth's magnetic field, a giant region of lower magnetic intensity in the skies, stretching out between South America and Southwest Africa. This vast developing phenomenon called the South Atlantic Anomaly has intrigued and concerned scientists for decades, perhaps none more so than NASA researchers. The space agency's satellites and spacecraft are particularly vulnerable to the weakened magnetic field within the anomaly and the resulting exposure to charged particles from the sun. Likened by NASA to a dent in Earth's magnetic field, or a kind of pothole in space, the South Atlantic Anomaly has expanded by around half the size of continental Europe since 2014, while its magnetic intensity weakens according to the latest data. It generally doesn't affect life on Earth, but the same can't be said for orbital spacecraft, which passes directly through the anomaly as they loop around the planet in low Earth orbit. Now I have questions. Since 2014, it's expanded to around half the size of continental Europe. So the data suggests it's growing? What happens if the magnetic sphere weakens to this degree? It expands. Well, you'll notice cell phone outages, power outages, weather phenomenon. Interesting, right? Have any of these things been happening? Not to mention with these massive solar storms. Could it be a perfect storm of solar cycle activity along with a pole shift about to occur on this planet, which weakens the magnetosphere? And the question is, will it send us back to the Stone Age? I talked with Ben Davidson, as I mentioned. The video is available from last week at youtube.com/Timcast, rumble.com/theculturewar, where he said, get books. Buy books now on basics of survival. Because if this blast hits us, it will fry the circuitry. Effectively, what happens is, when this powerful solar radiation hits the Earth and breaks through the magnetosphere, it will send a charge through the circuits of all our electronics and overload them, damaging them, shutting down our electronics, our machinery. It's possible to shield from these things, and maybe the government has hardened for it. Potentially, that's what these deep underground military bases are for. But I want to show you something. Let me see if I shouldn't use deep underground military base. You type dumb and Tucker Carlson, and you just get insults. Take a look at this. From NDTV World. U.S. spent $21 trillion to build secret underground doomsday bunkers for elites, claims former official. Listen, this massive dent in the magnetosphere is growing. They're telling us it's growing. We have seen strange phenomenon with these aurora in our skies. I don't know what this would mean. But again, I ask you guys, and I want you to engage. I want you to comment and have this conversation. Do you really believe powerful elites would tell you the truth? I want you to think about that movie. I believe it was 2012. And I know it's fictional, right? It doesn't mean that it's based in reality, but people have these ideas for a reason. In the film, they build great vessels. So when the massive storm comes and the waters rise, humanity can be saved, but it's impossible to save everyone. They can only fit so many people on these ships. And the protagonists of the story are not welcome on these ships, so they try to break in. In the event, they build deep underground bases to try and protect as many people as possible, preserve our technology and knowledge. Do you think they would make it public? If they did, what do you think would happen? If a disaster did come and signs were present, people would be desperately trying to get in. And they can't, because not everybody is allowed. I don't know if you've played the game Fallout, for instance. Fallout 4 is a good example of this. The game starts in 2077 when the war is about to break out. The video game series, for those unfamiliar, is about a nuclear war breaking out across the planet and people going into vaults to try and survive after the fact. There's a lot more to the story than that. But when you go to the vault, there's men with guns telling people they can't come in, and they're begging to be let in. But you're on the list. You get to come in. I think it is entirely likely that at least some element of this story is true. Fitz alleged $21 trillion was funneled into this project between 1998 and 2015. Interesting. Since 2014, that anomaly has been growing. Now, by all means, feel free to argue it's nothing. Mind your own business, maintain your optimism and your normalcy. But I'll tell you this, chance favors the prepared. In the event something is actually going on, and this growing dent in our magnetosphere is indicative of a coming pole shift, and the waters rise, the planet shuffles, the axis tilts, whatever might happen, maybe nothing. Maybe it's conspiracy internet garbage on the same level as flat Earth. Well, I'll tell you this. The man who fears an apocalypse and reasonably acts to prepare for survival survives. The apocalypse never comes. He's got food in his basement. He'll eat it. I always tell people this when it comes to these emergency food supplies and things like that. The worst case scenario, well, to be honest, the worst case scenario is if you buy the food, is the world ends and you need to eat it. Your best case scenario is the world doesn't end. You've bought food and you eat it. These emergency food kits last for 25 years. So I said, who cares? Why make fun of somebody for buying an emergency food kit? Let's say years go by, it's about to expire. You pop it open, you make some noodles, they taste great, and you eat the food. Then you buy another one. It's food. You need food and water. But there are people who will mock you. They'll laugh at you and tell you you're nuts for preparing for the worst. I'm not saying end your life or do things that are stupid. That's what Ben said. He says, don't do stupid things and like disappear or anything like that. Just pay attention. We want to be pragmatic. We want to be reasonable. But I got to tell you, based on what I've seen in the patterns, I think the ultra wealthy are preparing for this. Maybe not this, but something. And I think there are signs, and I think many of you may have seen them. So you tell me, maybe if this decentralized network actually came together, we'd see pieces of a pattern. Who knows? Who knows? I'll leave it there. Interesting stuff, I got to say. Smash the like button, share the show with everyone. Stay tuned. We got more coming for you today. And we'll see you on the next segment.